This is from Bob on Twitter. Tell me a right, and right is capitalized.
I saw
So
this
he
one
means
last night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's a right you don't like, but you fully support because it's a right of the people? Now, before you answer, I think Bob is probably kind of leading you to a question about the Second Amendment. I don't want to speak to him, but there's also been a lot of interest in Second Amendment questions from our users. So if you also want to incorporate anything you feel about gun control, that would be good as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's a right I don't like, but let's use this question as a way to talk about the Second Amendment because I think it's really relevant right now, especially seeing what went on in Canada with recent gun attacks there. So the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, I've had a lot of experience dealing with violence in New Jersey. And one interesting thing that we saw when we did an analysis of who was using guns to commit really heinous acts in Newark. We partnered with folks to try to analyze this, but something I just did when I was mayor is saying, looking at all the gun violence in our city, we could not find any case except for one where a correctional officer used her sidearm, but all of the shootings in the city of Newark are done by criminals who obtain guns illegally. So not law-abiding citizens who buy guns. That's not the problem in the United States right now, or at least that's not the overall problem, is legally acquiring guns. When you see things like Newtown and others where law-abiding citizens are getting guns, I think some other things need to be done. But in the case that we see, the predominant violence in our country is done by criminals who are accessing guns. And so I believe that we should do sort of common sense stuff to stop criminals from getting guns. The plurality of guns that come into the state of New Jersey are coming from out of state. Actually, the biggest state that is fueling guns to the state of New Jersey is actually the state that my opponents lived in for the last 30 years, the state of Virginia. And so we have this weird reality in New Jersey where you could be on the terrorist no-fly list. You could be a suspected terrorist in the United States. Can't buy a gun in New Jersey because we have very strong laws that prevent that person, or at least make sure we do a background check on that person. But you can get in a car, drive to Virginia, and go to a gun show and fill up your trunk full of weapons, drive back into New Jersey, sell those weapons illegally, or worse, if you have terroristic intent, you can use them. And the reason why I'm saying that is because look what happened in Canada. Terrorists getting guns, people that the FBI already knows about, are finding a way to get a gun and use it in a violent act. And I actually am very worried about homegrown terrorism. And so I believe in just the common sense stuff that, hey, to buy a car, to do a lot of things, you have to have background check, people have to know who you are and the like. But to buy a gun, you don't. And so these are some of the common sense things that I want to see. And by the way, the NRA in the past used to support background checks. Something happened in the last decade where they stopped supporting what is common sense. And by the way, the majority of gun owners, over 80% of gun owners, believe in common sense background checks. So this is not something radical and extreme. It's not undermining the rights of law-abiding citizens. This is just one common sense thing we should be doing to protecting people. So I'm not sure when I look at the Bill of Rights whether there's something I wish wasn't in there. Actually, I'm pretty confident I like the Bill of Rights, but I do believe that common sense gun safety laws that really protect people and that could undermine or constrict the level of violence in our state should be done. No questions asked.